Okay, at the end of the last video I said that we had solved problem number 49. Actually, we solved problem 47, and we'll go on to look at problem 49 now. So what we want to do is find the derivative of the sine of the arc cosine of t. Okay then, for number 49, let's see how we would do something like that. Now there are a couple of ways of doing this. I'm not sure that I want to get into all of that. These problems, we're going to make them again, they can become very complicated. We need to understand the basic mechanics of them. And with this particular one, we have a function composition here where the outside function is sine and the inside function is the arc cosine of t. So the derivative then for the derivative, we'll take the derivative of the outside. Derivative of sine is just cosine. We'll leave the inside part alone, then times the derivative of the inside function. Alright, so the first part of this is the cosine of the arc cosine. And what you're doing here is you're actually composing two inverse functions together. Now remember what the arc cosine says. The arc cosine says there is an angle and its cosine is t. So that arc cosine of t is an angle whose cosine is t. When you take the cosine of the angle whose cosine is t, you get t, and hopefully that makes sense. And that's going to be the case. One of our properties of functions is, I've written it in red down at the bottom there. When I compose two inverse functions together, whether I have the original function as the outside function and the inverse function as the inside function, or if the inverse function is the outside function and the original function is the inside function, regardless, when I compose two inverse functions, I always get x back, whatever I put in there for x, because one function is undoing the other. The original function, then I'm taking the inverse of that, is going to lead me back at x, or the inverse of the original undoes everything and leaves me with x. So our cosine of t, again, that is an angle, and it's the angle whose cosine is t. When I take the cosine of the angle whose cosine is t, I get t. Alright, and now I want to multiply that by the derivative of arc cosine of t, which we know is just the opposite sign of the arc sine of t, and that would be negative 1 over square root of 1 minus t squared. And when I put these together, I would end up with something like negative t over the square root of 1 minus t squared. Okay, well, I mean, the good thing about this is that even on an AP test, maybe there's one question or two at the very most worth 1 or 2 points on the whole test that deal with derivatives of inverse trig functions. And they really are not too difficult. It's just something more that you have to memorize, but they're not too difficult to work with, and they follow the same patterns as others do. So that is the answer for number 49. And I think I'm going to stop this section at that point with these videos, and that should be enough for you to get some idea of how these work.